All right, so we've been speaking about the two most elevated levels of human beings. There are 5 general levels, as the Tanya states at the very beginning. The lowest being a complete Rasha, a complete wicked man. The second lowest being an incomplete Rasha, wicked. Then there's the level that we should all strive to attain, and that's the Benoni, the one who might have evil speak to him. He has an evil inclination and an animalistic soul, as he calls it, but the Benoni is able to subdue it at every moment, not just in action, but also in feeling and in speech. Now we've been speaking about, in this chapter, the incomplete tzaddik, whose evil inclination is completely dormant, yet still exists. And now, just at the last few minutes of last week's class, we started speaking about the complete tzaddik, which is again the highest at 5th level. The complete tzaddik is someone whose evil inclination not only is non-existent or is dormant like it is in the incomplete tzaddik, but his evil inclination has been transformed into good. And in a way that transformation of the evil inclination is enhancing his own holiness, because now he has almost 2 inclinations. One that was good originally and one that was bad was transformed into good. So he has now 2 good inclinations, so to speak. That's the complete tzaddik, and that's what we'll delve into now. I will say what the Tanya says very clearly, and that is that it's not a level that every one of us can achieve. You are either born with that ability or not. Sometimes all we can do is be Beinonim, which is in of itself a feat that might be greater than just being a tzaddik, because that continued struggle that we have within and the ability to really subdue the evil inclination is really something that the righteous, the completely righteous, does not have. He doesn't have that type of fight. But us having that fight and being victorious every day is really, in a way, essentially more cherished by God. To put it in a very simplistic way, many W's, many wins are worth much more than just one win. The righteous has just one win. The completely righteous that we're speaking about is just one win. We have many, many wins every single day. There are many W's, and that's more cherished. But in any case, now we're speaking about the complete tzaddik, so let's just continue where we left off. As you mentioned, Margot, let's go middle of page 254, right here. Does anyone want to read? Anyone?
I'll read.
Okay.
For whatever is of the Sitra Akra is hated by the perfect tzaddik with an absolute hatred, by reason of the immensity of his love of God and his holiness, with a great love and delights and utmost affection, as stated above.
Right, let's just pause there and then we'll continue with the words of the Tanya. But it reminds me of the verse in the book of Psalms in Tehillim. Forget the exact chapter, but I know it's in the 90s. And it says as follows, Ohavei Hashem sinura. Those who love God hate bad. It's the word used, hate. That's a strong word. But those who love God hate bad. Why? Because the more in love with God I am, the more in love with goodness I am. And the more in love with goodness I am, the more I can't stand bad. I've used this example before, but to use a very poor example to describe that. If I go on a diet now for 30 days, and I'm as healthy as it gets, and I have all these juices and all these detox things, and then 30 days, my body now is completely healthy. And after those 30 days, I eat a slice of pizza. What will happen? My body will vomit that pizza, will reject the pizza completely. Why? Because it's completely healthy. For 30 days, it's been healthy. What would have happened if I had eaten that slice of pizza before I started my 30-day diet? Nothing. My body would have digested a piece of pizza because then it wasn't healthy. So another piece of toxicity, all right. I'm not saying pizza is toxic, but you get the point. Same here. The holier I am, the more allergic, so to say, I become to evil, not because I'm passionately involved with combating evil, but just because Holiness can't stand evil. Light can't stand darkness. Health can't stand unhealthy stuff. So it rejects that. And that's really the complete tzaddik, that he's so holy that not only is he able to subdue the evil, not only is he able to make it dormant, but the evil is rejected by him almost automatically. He can't stand it. It's too holy to be able to even come into contact with that evil. Now, I think it's true on every level. It's true in a bodily way, like the health diet. It's true intellectually. People are truly wise, can't stand dumb ideas. Why? Because they know wisdom. So it seems ludicrous to them when they hear something stupid. And it's true also on a spiritual level, like we're explaining here. So it's true on every level. So thus the word here, hatred, whatever is of the Sitra Achra is hated by the perfect tzaddik. Again, to evoke the words of King David, those who love God hate bad. Now, I just want to add one more thing. And again, I don't want to be the only one monologuing, so I really encourage comments and questions and so on. But just to add another layer to that, and that is that I think we don't need to be a tzaddik to hate bad in such a way. Now, yes, the tzaddik hates bad in its entirety. Any fraction of bad, it rejects immediately. But we can have parts of ourselves, parts of our journeys in which we can reject bad. So,
Rabbi,
yes.
I hate the word hate.
Yeah, that's right. But hate is used here again to express that allergic reaction, so to speak, that the holy people have towards bad. Again, just like we would have an allergic reaction to that piece of pizza.
Repulsion, Rabbi.
Sorry?
Repulsion. It repulses.
Fine. Repulsion. Yeah. Yeah, but I'm saying we can have that in our own way, in our own domains. So, for example, if we want to focus on the trait of kindness, then and we become really good at it, then we become very disturbed when we find a person that, or when we encounter the opposite of kindness, stinginess, for example. It's true also for, again, any domain of holiness, for prayer. If I want to focus on prayer and I really want to become excellent at prayer and be completely focused on my relationship with God, anything that stands against God, I'll become allergic to. Or what word did you use, Vered? I'll be
Repulsed.
Oh, that's right. I'll be repulsed by it. Yes. So that's another word. But so the tzaddik has it in all domains of holiness. We can pick one domain and then have a diet, a 30-day diet or 60-day, however long it takes us in that domain. So even though we're speaking, the reason I'm saying this is because even though we speak about the perfect tzaddik, a level that, as we said before, is not attainable by most people. I mean, maybe by some of you, maybe it is, certainly not by me, but it's not attainable. At least we can attain some parts of the tzaddik's righteousness to make it applicable. Okay. All right, we can continue, but again, I welcome comments. All right, let's continue at the bottom of page 254.
Okay.
You might be trying to speak, and
I can read.
you have to do is unmute yourself, because all right,
I can read.
please go ahead, Ferry.
I'll help Margot.
Okay,
Are we-
thank you.
Where are we for the two or no?
The
the-
bottom
the
of
way-
page 54.
Yes, for the two.
Yeah, for the
Okay.
two.
For the two are antithetical, one to the other, as it is written. I hate them with absolute hatred. They have become my enemies. Search me and know my heart. Thus, according to the magnitude of the love toward God, so is the degree of the magnitude of the hatred towards the Sitra Achra and the utter abhorrence of evil, since like hatred, abhorrence is the veritable opposite of love.
Right. Continue just one paragraph here with the commentary. of Steinzel.
The way to search me and know my heart, to find out if one's love for God is indeed absolute, is to see whether one's regard of everything deriving from Kelipa is such that I hate them with absolute hatred. For the two are antithetical one to the other. A desire or even the slightest affinity for Kelipa indicates a less than complete desire for godliness.
Right. So any attraction to klipa, which means any attraction to any type of evil, indicates again that I'm not completely holy. If I was completely holy, I wouldn't have any type of attraction. Quite the opposite, as you said. I would have complete repulsiveness towards that slice of evil, however small it is. But if I am completely holy, I reject it, like the example of the pizza. But I want to add, because I think it's an important verse here, that Tanya speaks of this verse, that search me and know my heart. Those are the words. Search me or investigate me and know my heart. Now, we say to God, you know what? You can search me. You can search my heart. Every single part of my heart is channeled towards you. That's what King David is saying to God. Not sure which psalm it comes from. I know it comes from the book of Psalms. But what this also means, there's a flip side to that. I want to focus on this too, is that if my heart is completely devoted to God, I am willing to devote my God at every step of the way, in every area. My heart is fully devoted. And that devotion is really what leads me to repulse or to hate evil. To give you just an example, the Hasidim would bring, it's in Hasidic thought, they would bring the parable of this farmer who was very poor. All he had was one cow. And one day they caught him praying. And they said, they caught him, praying, or they caught him in a state of ecstasy, but he was praying towards the king. And he was telling the king, just, in a complete state of ecstasy, King, I love you so much. I love you so much that if I had many, many cows and many, many goats and many, many sheep, I would give them all to you. That's how much I love you. And then his fellow farmer heard him and he said, you fool, you might not have many cows and many goats and many sheep, but you have one cow. If you really love the king, give that cow to God. And then the farmer repeated, well, it's my only cow that I can't give to God. To the king, sorry. That I have to keep for myself. So the farmer, his friend, says, you don't really love the king. Now, the parable that this was used again by Chassidim is that if I love God with all my heart, which is, the king here in this parable, if I love God with all my heart, it's easy to say, oh, when I reach that state, that's when I'll be completely devoted to God. That's when I'll give everything. When I have a lot of cows, when I have a lot of sheep. But what is happening with what you have now? In that heart is that complete devotion to God, even with all that you have right now, even if it's just one cow. And in a way, that's what this devotion of heart is speaking about, which is the other side of the verse here, that the righteous man, no matter what he or she has, they are willing to devote the entirety to God, whether they think they've reached a level or they haven't reached a level. Right now, at this point, with what I have, I'm devoted to God. And that's really a very hard level to attain. But, I think that's part of the great plagues of society, that when a moment of truth comes, we immediately deflect it. We either procrastinate, like Mark Twain said, don't wait, don't push for tomorrow. You know how that line goes, don't push for tomorrow what you can do today. Mark Twain would say, don't push for tomorrow what you can do the day after tomorrow. So that's the ultimate procrastination. But when the moment of truth comes, we say, oh, not right now, I didn't quite mean it. Oh, now's an opportunity for you to do a mitzvah. Now's an opportunity really for you to connect to God. Oh, you've been speaking about tzedakah. You've been speaking about whatever it is. Do it now. Look at this. Oh, I didn't quite mean it that way. I'll do it tomorrow. I need to learn more about it.
You remind me of,
Pieces in our
you
mind.
remind me of the guy who says, God, if I win $1 million in the lottery, I'll give
Right.
half to charity. On the other hand, if I could win, you could let them win too. But I like what Buria said to her husband, Rabbi Meir.
Yeah,
Don't hate the sinners, hate the sins.
right. That's right. That's right. Very good. And that's what we're doing. We're not talking about sinners here. We're talking about the sin. That's right. Very well said. There's a good differentiation here. But I'm saying again, we have to be ready to give up. And that's what it means. Search my heart. Go investigate my heart. You'll see that my heart is ready to be completely given to you with whatever it has. It might be something, just a cow, like we said. But at this moment, no procrastination, no excuses. It's ready and available to be completely one with God at every moment. That's really what King David is speaking about. And when I have that devotion of heart, that's when I become holy, and that's when I become also allergic to evil. But it has to start now. Can't push it off. Now, being completely devoted. That's the word, the famous word, hineni. You know, it's interesting because the word hineni is used by each and every one of our forefathers who set the path for all of us. Maybe in order indeed to convey this message that we have to be ready. Hineni, here I am, no matter what, no matter the excuse. That's what the devotion of heart really means. And when I am really one with God, then in such a way, then I reject evil. Well, then evil is repulsive, as Vered said. Know my heart. Because also, by the way, you can say, I just want to also add this, and again, I want to hear from you. It's interesting because we say to God, King David says, investigate me, God, and know my heart. He doesn't say know my mind. One can say, well, the mind is where you are. The Baal Shem Tov famously said, if you want to know a person, if you want to know where a person stands, look at his or her mind, his or her thoughts. If I think of soccer all day long, that's where I am. If I think of food all day long, that's where I am. So why not say, know my mind? Why does it say, know my heart? And the answer is because, no, my mind can play tricks. Hearts don't play tricks. At the end of the day, the real test of a person is where his heart is. Because your feelings won't lie to you. They'll fluctuate, but they won't lie to you. And when God is invited to come investigate a person, he first and foremost goes to his heart. Where is your passion? Where are your emotions? Are they towards something else? Or are they towards me, towards your soul purpose, your God-given purpose? And that's where God knows us best. We can read a person's feelings, and it's not for us to judge, but God can. And but we can judge our own feelings. That we can do. And if our own feelings are really feeling God, not just thinking God, the world of the mind again is a very tricky world, but it's also a very cold world where there's really no passion and therefore no real ability to know if I am one with the thing, because it's a cold world. This thought comes in, another thought comes and substitutes. The world of the heart is not like that. The world of the heart is a very warm and very authentic. The feeling that I have right now is a feeling. You can't play around with it. I may be able to, if it's a bad feeling, I have to substitute it. The world of the heart is more fluctuative than the world of the mind, but still, feelings don't lie. And thus God is invited by King David, to go and see his heart, not his mind. And the emotions that I feel towards God will really indicate whether I'm truly in love with God and repulse evil. That's why know my heart and not know my mind. And very, very often, and again, just to make this applicable, to make this practical, I think that the very concrete lesson we can take from this is that very often we do mitzvahs robotically, and that's fine. It's better to do them robotically than not to do them at all. So I give tzedakah robotically. I pray robotically. I educate my children or myself robotically. I check boxes. That's what I do. But at least there should be one mitzvah a day where I do it with all my heart, because that's when I'll know that I'm truly connected with God, that I have this devotion of the heart, because that will show that I'm in love. I'm in love with God. If I'm in love with God,
I think the
God is in
mind,
love with
I
me.
think the mind is more important.
Mind is more important for certain things.
Because passion could swing also in many
Absolutely.
ways.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's where the mind and the heart have to work together in a way,
Agreed.
right? But still, if I say I love you to my wife and I don't mean it, I love you because I know that she's my wife. I intellectually analyze that relationship and I think that we need to have some type of connection. Therefore, I say I love you. It's nice, but it's pretty dry and robotic. But if I say I love you with all my heart, because I really love you, because I feel one with you, that's a whole different type of relationship. And that's what God is seeking. So the mind and the hearts definitely need to work together. But where I can test the realness or the authenticity of the relationship is specifically through the heart. You know that one of the great Hasidic masters, Rabbi Shalom Ber, once said that the beginning of the decline in a person's spiritual service is when he doesn't feel his connection with God anymore. Not think, feel it. And it's not warm. Then things become cold and dry, and eventually things become completely, I would say, rusty, and people then abandon that pathway. No wonder, because the pathways had become so cold and so dry. So again, that warmth of the heart, the devotion of the heart, is crucially important. Yes, the mind has to feed the heart all the time, telling the heart, this is what you have to do, and this is how you have to work on yourself, and it has to ignite it in many ways. But eventually, the ultimate test is whether I'm connected with my heart or not. And this is what this is saying. Know my heart, not my mind. A good point. Good point, William. You're right. They both need to work together. Okay. We can continue, but again, please feel free to share your comments. Anyone? No. Okay, let's continue here a little bit more. 255.
Shall I read?
Yes, anyone.
Or
please.
does Margot, do you want
Very
to?
good. Yeah, one of you.
Such a measure of heart is not limited to complete tzaddikim. In every society and every individual's inner moral scale are certain things that are simply not done, certain limits that are not to be exceeded no matter what, things that are abominated and utterly despised, for they are antithetical to everything that society or that individual understands to be right and desirable. So these things are not only not done, they are unthinkable. These are not temptations to be resisted, for they are so totally abhorred that no possibility of temptation exists. For example, the idea of murdering someone in order to rob him of his money was once unheard of in Israel's society. There were thieves, but to kill for money was taboo. Today, that boundary has been breached, and society has, so to speak, become receptive to the idea that such things are possible. People might still utterly reject the idea of killing for money, but they no longer feel the horror and abomination that the very thought once evoked, because the act has entered the realm of possibility. In our society, the idea of eating human flesh is unthinkable. If we hear of a case of cannibalism, our reaction is one of total abhorrence and extreme hatred and contempt toward the one who did such a deed. Yet there are places in the world where even if people do not practice cannibalism daily, the idea is not unthinkable.
Right.
There,
Which is a very good depiction of what this idea is all about. But to put it in this way, in a way that Rabbi Steinmetz here explains it, you can know your holiness not just by what you love, but also by what you hate or what you repulse. If I have tolerance for things that are evil, then that means that my holiness is not as perfect as it should be. If I don't have tolerance for it and they become abhorrent, that means that my holiness is more complete. And it's true not just for individuals, but as Rabbi Steinmetz is saying here, it's true for societies. If as a society, we completely reject and repulse and abhor any type of evil, that means the society is holy. If we start tolerating certain types of evil, not that they become legal in any way, not that they become acceptable, but still tolerated, then it means the society is less holy. But it starts with the individual, it starts with us. We have to ensure that there are certain things that cannot enter our psyche at all, things that are completely abhorrent. And the second I allow them to enter, I create this crack for them to enter my consciousness. And even though my consciousness might not accept them, but it might just tolerate them, that is when my holiness is breached. I think there are many lessons to that, but if I have to pick one, I think that goes back to this big idea that we have to be masters of our own selves. And not every idea, not every story, certainly not every ideal, with an L in the end, not every ideal has to even be accepted, has to even enter my consciousness. Sometimes I have to say, oh, I just saw this, I just heard about this, I'm blocking myself from it completely because it will breach my own holiness. I can't allow it to even enter my psyche. And I know we live in a world where it's very, very hard to do this because our world is so open and so many distractions and temptations. But one of the greatest tasks we have in our generation, I believe, is exactly what Rabbi Steinmetz is speaking about here. We have to decide what we will tolerate and what we will not. And moreover, we have to decide what will enter in year and what will not. It's completely up to us. But remember, if you allow something evil to enter in year, not that you are accepting it, or in year, not that you're accepting it, but you're tolerating it, it might come instead of some of your holiness. It might breach that holiness. It might taint that holiness. Thus, we have to be as careful as possible to have full control and mastery over this and this. This is really what this is saying. This is what it is guiding us to.